Okay, so our meeting is now live streaming on Facebook. Welcome to the Proclaim group. I'm welcoming leaders from the virtual parish, Abby, Valeria, and Freddie. How are you guys doing today?
Good.
Not too bad, not too bad. It's a really beautiful day.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. Happy Easter to you guys.
Happy Easter.
Easter to you too.
Yeah. Awesome. And happy Easter to all of our Proclaim members and to the faithful of our archdiocese. I got to say, in our parishes and in our archdiocese, we are so blessed to have wonderful pastors and lay people who have rallied around our pastors to live stream mass, to offer confessions, to get really creative amidst this period of COVID-19 that has closed the buildings of our churches, but certainly the church has not stopped. And virtual parish is one of those expressions that has come as a result of this impulse, this change in our society right now. And I've watched from afar. I've been able to see some really cool things happen. And I'm so blessed to have members of the virtual parish core team with us, Abby, Valeria, and Freddie. And so what we're going to do right now is just have a little bit of a conversation, and I'm going to ask you guys to introduce yourself, share a little bit about your story, where you're from, what parish you used to be part of, but now currently are also involved in virtual parish. And then I'm going to, maybe dig into a little bit of how virtual parish came about and how it has impacted you. So Abby, I'm going to get you to start. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hi, my name is Abby. I attend St. Matthew's in Surrey, but I'm also very close to St. Joseph's in Langley.
Awesome. And Valeria?
Hi, my name is Valeria. I go to All Saints Parish. I am also a core team member at All Saints Young Adult. And yeah, that's it.
Awesome. I love All Saints. That's where I grew up.
Yes.
Yeah. Awesome. And Freddie?
Yeah. So hi, my name is Freddie. I also go by Sigfred. I'm currently finishing my undergrad here in Seattle, but my home parish back in Vancouver is Holy Spirit Parish in New West. So yeah.
Amazing. Okay. Very good. So geographically spaced out, but somehow got involved with an online community. So how did it get started? Where did it all start?
Okay. Yeah. Would you guys like me to? Sure. So initially it started one evening. My semester was winding down here in Seattle. And then so I just had the evening for free. And then one of my friends from CCO UBC invited me. She's like, hey, one of our friends is sick. So would you like to pray the rosary with us tonight? And then so essentially, yeah, that just started the whole process of getting a whole virtual parish started. I thought to myself, like, hey, we're starting to slowly get separated from one another due to COVID. So I thought to myself, like, hey, what a nice way to just get the community, like, spiritually grow in ourselves, keep ourselves accountable while praying for the world at the same time. So yeah, that was kind of
amazing. Okay.
Yeah, springboard.
And Valeria, how did you get involved? How did you jump in?
So yeah, like through CCO and with Freddie, he told me about it. He's like, hey, do you want to join? I was like, oh yeah, sure, why not? So yeah, like the first night I was like, oh, this is kind of cool, like all of us praying the rosary together and like just all of us, I guess, like struggling the same. So, and then I was like, okay, let's do it. And then as like along the way, we saw like the numbers increasing more and more every single day. So like one day we're just like, hey, why not like, make this like a parish in a way. So we're like, okay, let's do it. So like from there, we're like, okay, we're going to call ourselves the virtual rosary group. And we're like, okay, wait, no, like that's too long. So yeah, like long story short, like we are called virtual parish and we're like, hey, why not like create a social media for Instagram and Facebook. And then myself and Danielle, she is part of the core team, like her and I, like, we've like both decided, we're like, yeah, let's do it. Like a lot of people are in like social media now. So yeah, like it's pretty cool if you ask me. And like along the way, like we had one event where we had like a live, I guess, virtual praise and worship. There was some people who were coming from Florida, from Honduras, from like even China, I believe, or the Philippines. Yeah, so like, yeah, it was pretty cool just like all the people, like even Australia was joining with us too. Just like all of us
Oh, that's
together.
so cool.
Yeah.
Okay. So, and how many people would jump on for the rosary, online rosary?
Maybe like 30 to like 60 people, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay. Okay.
cool.
And it's still going on today? Like as
Yes.
of today, you're still doing nightly
Yeah.
rosary? That's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
And
So
Abby,
most,
how did you get
oh, sorry.
connected into it?
Yeah, I have a friend who I just met at the CCO spring retreat in March, like the beginning of March. He added me in, and then when I joined, I was like, "Hey, I know a lot of these people," and
Okay.
and it just grew from there, and we've been there ever since, and it's been so fruitful.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Brady, you were going to say something. Sorry, I cut you
Oh
off
no,
there.
yeah, no, I totally cut you off. But yeah, essentially, since most of our congregation is young adults and finals season already, I feel like, yeah, it's mostly the young adults who are free right now. We're praying for those who are in finals as well. So yeah, but it ranges between 30 to 50.
Guys,
yeah.
if you guys are watching this,
Good luck with finals.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. Sorry. And another thing is like their sisters, like Sister Hey Jen is involved. The sisters from
Okay.
the friends, I believe the Franciscan joins in with us too. Like other priests from like other parishes involved as well. So it's like pretty cool, if you ask me.
Yeah. Yeah, that's amazing. Okay. Now, I got to hear a little bit about Virtual Parish from Father Paul Gu.
Oh.
So he somehow kind of jumped on, got involved and all of that. So how is that kind of, what's his part of the story?
He's our rock star priest.
Yeah. He's our number one.
Yeah.
He's
Number
the
one
shot caller. He does everything. But I think Valeria can really attest to like Father Paul, like how much he does for us. So Valeria, if you want to talk about that, because
Yeah,
for sure.
So yeah, like Father Paul, I remember one day Mass, he was like, oh my God, like after the whole event of the Holy Week, he was like, you know what, sleep is like overrated for me. Like there was no time. And it like
Sleep is
yeah.
overrated.
It was crazy. And like other priests, he's like, oh my gosh, you guys, like I never seen a priest so involved, so like just full of like on fire with this parish. So we're like, oh my gosh, like we're so blessed to even have like Father Paul, who is like an introvert, which I was very surprised he's an introvert.
Right.
But just like in general, he's just like, yeah, it's just like, oh my gosh, let's do it. Like if he wants to make something happen, he will make it happen. So it's like pretty cool.
Right.
Yeah, I just want to like build on that. Like he's really been like such a rock for us, and like he's really laid down his life. I remember one time I was really inspired by his leadership was we had a Zoom bombing incident, which you guys are familiar with, and he was just so steadfast and just remind us to just stay calm and just focus on the Lord. And I was just like, man, we're so blessed to have Father. Like he really, it's been so good, so faithful.
Yeah. You guys know I work at the pastoral center, and so before we all started to start working remotely, I would see Father Paul, and I remember him saying, you know, he was offering live stream masses for you, and he came down to my floors, walking around the hallway, and I'm like, why are you holding this tripod? Right? And he was trying to figure things out, trying to figure out how he's going to connect his phone and all that stuff. So I could totally attest to his willingness and his desire to jump on board. Pope Francis speaks about this in Evangelii Gaudium, and he invites us as parish communities to be creative in the mission. And I think we can all attest to Father Paul's creativity in stepping in, but also to you and to your community in being creative in ways of building out the community. Because I know it's not just about praying rosary every night. There's other things that Virtual Parish has started. So can you share with us a few other things that the Virtual Parish has been engaged in?
Yeah.
Sure.
So yeah, like there's some events that we do. I think one day we did Just Dance, like in virtual, like on Zoom. Yeah, it was like pretty cool. Like there was like
awesome.
Yeah, like 5 or 6. We're just like on like in our room, like maybe on our bed or whatever. We're just like, yeah, let's do it, guys. Like let's have our like physical, like gross motor stuff. Like in other times we have movie nights, which again, Father Paul, he stays up like 1 a.m. just to watch the movie with us.
Okay.
And, we have chaplet. Yeah.
Can I mention our pancake breakfast?
Oh yeah.
Okay, so when we
At a
started
pancake breakfast.
Okay,
Yeah.
so
No parish is complete without a pancake
No,
breakfast.
not
Yeah,
without.
so right from the get-go, I was like, guys, since, like, we have to have the pancake breakfast. And I was just joking. I'd been saying that from the beginning. And then one day on Easter Sunday, we're like, we should actually do the pancake breakfast. So we did. We had one. Everyone just brought their own.
That is amazing.
And I'm like, it is complete. It is good. That's it.
Okay, so everyone just jumped on Zoom. They had a plate of pancakes, some fried eggs or whatever, and you guys just had a big breakfast together. That's so cool.
Had our virtual backgrounds changed so we could pay homage to the Knights of Columbus, even though they weren't there with us. We had one like, Knights of Columbus member, but to pay homage to the real organization that started it all. Yeah,
the real deal.
We had to put it up for them.
That is amazing. That's amazing. Okay. I want to go back to the movie nights because I did see a poster on your Facebook page, and it was there were 2 movie nights that you offered last week during Holy Week, Prince of Egypt and Passion of the Christ. So could you walk me through how, let's go right into the mechanics. Like, assume that I know nothing technologically, which isn't far from the truth. But assume I know nothing, like, how does it work? Like, do I sign in? Do I have to download a movie? Like, what's the dynamic of an individual jumping onto a movie night with Virtual Parish?
Ready?
Okay, sure. So initially the whole process of us like testing out like the whole quirks and stuff. So we found out that movies would be actually slower if everyone like showed their face or like was not muted. So in order for stuff to flow well, we had to like completely disregard the whole face-to-face interaction and the whole just talking, and then just allowed the whole movie like screen share process to just follow suit. Father Paul, like Abby said, he's been really helpful and instrumental in the whole process of like even staying up until 1 a.m. and just really developing fellowship amongst the people. So and what was interesting about the whole dynamic is that the chat box in Zoom would still allow for people to still comment. So people would be like, oh my gosh, I didn't know about the crucifixion, or that's a really interesting fact about Pope Francis, or I didn't know this happened, or XYZ. And it would be really interesting because even though we couldn't talk to each other, couldn't see each other, we were still having a blast just chatting each other in the Zoom chat box. So that's essentially what happened throughout all the movies, and just the amount of fellowship that went on was really,
Okay. So you jumped on. Father Paul was like the host, and then had you guys all turn off videos and mics, and then he played the movie off of his computer, and you guys all watched it with the share screen.
Like through the screen sharing, and
Okay. That's cool. And then how did the discussion go afterwards? Because there was a discussion part. Did you do breakouts? Was it like one big discussion? How did you do that?
So after the Passion of Christ, Father Paul separated us into different small groups, and so essentially, we felt like as a community we needed to cater to everyone. So I felt so Father Paul and one of our core members, Dean, suggest that we go into small groups just to foster some individual conversations. And so these conversations would contain, so how does the Passion relate to your life, or how can we bear our own cross, or how do you see Christ helping bear your cross in your life as of right now, especially during COVID? So it's just to foster some individual conversations to get everyone involved essentially in the conversation.
Okay. Very cool. What were some of the other things that you were able to do during Holy Week?
Deacon Richard, he did Lectio Divina. It was pretty cool.
Good.
Yeah. Everybody was like, oh my gosh, do you know if Deacon Richard's gonna do more Lectio Divina? And like a couple minutes ago, Deacon Richard's like, oh yeah, I'm so sorry if I wasn't like as involved, but like, is it okay with you guys to like, if I could do another Lectio Divina? And everyone was like, yes, let's do it. Like, all the time, no hesitation, no nothing, do it. So but after Sunday after the Lectio Divina, like everybody was like, I want more of those of the Lectio Divina with Deacon Richard, because like it hit them different ways that everyone was like, oh, that's so deep. Yeah.
That is so good. I am so curious to know, because also like I said, technologically, social media, all that stuff, I'm not that great with it. Like, what are some things that that your community did to help grow the virtual parish? How did it grow from, the few people that started that, the rosary to what it is today?
Mm. Abby, if you want to talk about that.
Yeah, I was going to be like, do I pass the mic to Valeria? I think just individually, just kind of really taking the effort to, to like one by one invite people, whether it's through sending them the Zoom link or just redirecting them to our Facebook page. Valeria mentioned Instagram. Facebook has been instrumental for us. So I think, just making that effort to invite and keep following up with people is always a big thing. And again, we started off with Zoom, and then we realized that the numbers are getting so big, especially when it came to Mass. So we started live streaming as well, Facebook and Instagram.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah. And then in terms of like new parishioners, is there something that, you take on to welcome them, to bring them into the community?
Yeah, so I'm the designated greeter per se. So every time a person joins the community, I would in all caps say, everyone, can you give a brief hello or brief welcome to Valeria or Abby, because they just joined the group.
Okay.
And then you can see a whole list of messages in the Facebook group chat like, oh my gosh, hello, XYZ, like thanks for joining us. Thanks for being part of the community. And yeah, it's a really good way of just really making them feel welcome, just getting that initial step forward, even if they may be introverted or may not feel like may not feel or not Catholic essentially, or just like really new to communities like this. It's very good just to get them exposed and just get them talking with other people essentially. Yeah.
Okay. So you're kind of like the digital usher, the guy in the front shirt, front of the church,
totally
shaking
the digital usher.
And like in the group, we have some, like we have different like religious backgrounds. Like there's one guy who's a Protestant, and he's on fire. And we're like, oh my gosh, he is so involved with everything. Like he's like responder for Mass. He does like most of the decade. And just like so on and so forth, that we're just like,
yeah,
oh wow, this is I'm so inspired by him.
Okay. So your parish is not just Catholics. You've got Protestants. You've got others from different denominations, different religious backgrounds. That's very cool. That's very cool. Okay. This is a question for each of you, so maybe you can each take turns sharing a little bit. Like, how has this community impacted your faith life and your relationship with Jesus?
You can start, Valeria. You got this.
Pass the mic. Yeah.
Okay, no pressure. So yeah, like for me, that's such a good question, to be honest. So yeah, it was really hard because like a couple of weeks ago I got laid off from my job, and like I'm so blessed to like even still live with my parents, which they're like so supportive. And like and again, like I'm involved with like in another parish, but it's like not involved as this, but like I just feel so motivated, and just like even like talking to other people and just be like, hey, like like the whole day I was just like, oh my gosh, like I can't wait to be 9:30. Like we have 9 more hours, like let's do other things. So like the minute that like time goes by, that you're like, oh my gosh, like I'm 3 minutes late to the rosary, let's run, let's hop on in. But yeah, it's just like, yeah, it's so cool, to be honest. Like I never even imagined like how far we've come, especially like a lot, like more than like maybe 500 people joining, like in the social media or wherever, like wherever you are. Like it's so cool just to have time, just like in now, like just that hour, just to like do the rosary or like even talk to other people. So yeah, it's pretty cool. I love it.
Very cool. Thank you.
Yeah, for me, it's very similar to Valeria. I'm very fortunate to be involved in other ministry as well. But I think that, I was sharing this with some of my small groups before, that I'd never experienced praying the rosary that consistently, especially with a group of of people. And I think, again, that accountability and community aspect has been so huge for me. And again, like especially through Lent, like everyone, I don't know, like it's like, quarantine, you know, like global pandemic, and you know, but just to kind of come to this place that just felt like a safe haven every night. And again, just the consistency aspect of it, and it's reminding us to really persevere through it. I think, you know, we always talk about how like there's no resurrection without the crucifixion. So for us, it's, you know, it's like we're really carrying this cross together. So by the time that Easter came, there's just a lot of joy. So yeah, it's just been really, really fruitful.
Okay. How about you, Freddie?
Yeah. And then for me, it's actually been super instrumental. Like I'm like, people are like, oh, thanks for making the group, or thanks for like getting the team together. And honestly, it's been more like people have been more of an inspiration for me as well. I remember initially at UW, because right before Lent started, UW made there was like the CCO equivalent is called Focus, and so they had like a thing in their Newman Center where they started making Lent journals. And to be honest, I wasn't really fruitful, or I wasn't really productive or consistent with my schedule and doing my Lent journal. I'm like, oh, I got to do it today or stuff like that. But ever since the virtual parish started, I've been writing every day. I've been documenting what has happened, the good stuff, the bad, just as a recollection of like memories. And I feel like at the end of the day, it's something that God has been instrumental in a way for, like, this is a way God's talking to me every day, especially with Father Paul's homilies, whether it be writing it down today or like last week, or even during the Easter Vigil, and even during Deacon Richard's Lectio Divina, which is really inspiring. And I have it like all down in my book. It's really just a testament to, like, even though we're going through so much right now, it's something I can look back at 20 years, 30 years down the line, and something where I've spiritually grown. And it's something that like God's like calling me to something more than I thought I could be. So yeah, it's been really instrumental in that way, and it's been fruitful.
Freddie, man, so good. I love Freddie.
That is so cool. Yeah, that's so cool. I think a lot of our parishes are, you know, they're missing their communities, and they're missing the fellowship that they used to have through gatherings, through fellowship, through face-to-face connections. And I think for a lot of us, not necessarily having too much experience in social media and in this digital world, we're looking at this and saying, well, this is a, you know, kind of a substitute to real face-to-face relationships, and that it can't necessarily replace, you know, how meaningful face-to-face can be. But I think your testimonies have shown that there are other benefits, and there's certainly beautiful growth that can happen through online communities. Like, could you offer any sort of like encouragements or other recommendations to us who are thinking, you know, maybe we'll have to just wait this out before we can get back to our face-to-face and you know, real, like, tangible relationships? You know, any encouragements to us who might be thinking like about that opportunity that we might have in going online?
It's always the number one.
Ladies first. Yeah.
Go ahead, Abby.
Oh, really? Yeah. No, I'd love to speak to that. So we're running Alpha at my home parish as well, online, and we started in person first. So we had our first week in person, and then we transitioned online. At that time, virtual parish had kind of already been underway. So, but it was just a transition for everyone, right? And I thought it was interesting to think about, you know, online, like building on that relationship that we had cultivated in person. And I guess, you know, the rest of the core, something that we have been talking about as well is, you know, what's going to happen next. And also thinking, yeah, like, let's, you know, whatever we've built here, that should just be a continuation in person. So I think that going forward, if it's, you know, again, encouragement for anyone here to think about, you know, we're constantly thinking about building up the kingdom of God together, you know, so it's just like, let's just keep building, like, wherever, whenever that is, right?
Absolutely. And Valeria, I think you had some thoughts on that too.
Yeah. I don't know. Like, because I was thinking even more, because I was like, everyone knows each other, like, especially with like Father Paul, who is like, he's the one that's, you know, making, like, he just knows everyone, right? And just like being in the like community and like the archdiocese and everything, that just like, yeah, like I realized that like, as long as we like keep that connection with like other people, like, and like the more, like, just like what Freddie said, like the more we like connect with them and just like checking on with them, or like, you know, asking them like, hey, like, are you available to join? Like literally like it takes like 15 minutes or so in your time. Like, you know, it's easy, like just log in your laptop, your iPad, whatever, you know, and sign in and voila, you know. So it's like, yeah, like
Cool.
I think just like, yeah, like don't be afraid to like talk to us, you know, like it's okay. Like I know you're having anxiety, I'm having anxiety, so both of us, we could just like, you know, just come together and like
Struggle together.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Like you're not alone in this. Like for me, like this parish is like for anyone who just feels like, you know, doesn't have anyone in it, right? Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Thank you. So we've got just a few minutes left in our time together. Could you let me know, or let our viewers know, let Proclaim know what's next? What's next for Virtual Parish? What's coming down the pipeline?
Yeah.
Let's go, Freddie.
Okay. So yes, essentially, I've been especially talking with other core leaders, and yeah, taking it all into perspective. Yes, the virtual parish, we do realize that eventually this pandemic will end, and eventually, yes, we have to go to our respective lives, going back to parish life physically, and that's the perspective that people have taken into account. Like, yes, like you can't take the sacraments for granted. You can't take going to a confession. You can't take receiving the Eucharist for granted. Like, these are actually important things that we need in order to build spiritually and actually reach the kingdom of heaven. And so essentially, for future reference, obviously we want to move back to going to Sunday Mass or going to daily Mass. So obviously that will have to be phased out. But in terms of just actually getting people to meet together on like a weekly basis, probably I was talking with Deacon Richard essentially at a meeting with him. And it's more in the sense where like, hey, once a week, maybe like how many people want to join. Maybe people can come together and have like small group discussion, be like, oh, today maybe the reading was XYZ, and the priest brought up something good, and oh, Valeria from All Saints is like, maybe Father brought this cool perspective in. So people get different perspectives on like how like weekly basis they can catch up, or they can analyze and like spiritually pray about how their week has been, or like how the homilies or how liturgy has been carried out. And it's been speaking to me for these past couple of days as well, because today and yesterday, the readings for the gospel were the road to Emmaus. I feel like that really speaks out to two key aspects of the Mass: the liturgy of the Word and the liturgy of the Eucharist. And I feel like, yeah, if we can come together as a community once, a couple times a month, maybe once a week, just to talk about that and just to talk about how that impacts our lives and sort of stuff like that, it'll just keep the community growing as it is right now. And that is something that in the process we're still talking about. So if any of you guys want to add, Abby or Valeria.
I think you captured it all, Freddie. But yeah, I'm like, yeah, let's go, Freddie. I second that. I fire emoji, all of that. But yeah, I think just like it would be so amazing to see that renewal being continued, like at our parishes. You know, it's just like it doesn't, like hashtag church never stops, you know, like it's gonna, like it's been going and it's gonna keep going. So I think that's the direction that we see things going. It won't stop. It's just gonna grow into something else.
Anything from you, Valeria? Valeria, usually first to the mic. I'll give you the last word.
The first shall be last.
Yeah, like I get with Freddie and Abby, just like, yeah, like hopefully, like, yeah, like if this goes away, like hopefully, yeah, like virtual parish don't stop. And like actually I was talking to Father Paul a couple days ago, and he was like, oh my gosh, I miss you guys so much. Like I just wish right now all of us could go in the park together and like, you know, all of us just sit, you know, with each other, just I might, you know, everything. Yeah, he was, yeah. I was like, Father Paul, how are you like so good to us? Like I every single time. But I was like, you know what, Father Paul, like I understand, like I do agree, like, you know, like just having one day, just all of us, like with that 500 people, just, you know, in one park. Yeah, like just like I said earlier, just like still be in that community and just like asking for help, you know, and like without that, like, yeah, yeah, just don't stop, you know, just keep on going, like keep that ball rolling every single day with that.
Yeah, something
Wonderful,
that we're
wonderful.
Yeah, too.
Yeah.
Abby?
Just like, oh, sorry. I'm like, you know, like we were just talking about how, of course, it was so sad, but then just thinking about how much, you know, joy that we've had in our experience, like how much more joyful is it gonna be when we're gonna reunite in person, you know, like it's just something to look forward to. So I yeah, as Larry said, like just imagine being reunited with everyone like in person. It's gonna be so good. So
yeah,
that's amazing. I'm going to put up from there. I'm so grateful for all you guys have shared with Proclaim. You know, Proclaim was meant to be an impulse that is capable of transforming everything, a missionary impulse to catalyze that. Certainly, COVID became an impulse that has changed everything in our lives, and yet God continues to do good amidst of it. And I think Virtual Parish is one of those blessings that God has stirred up within you, and you have taken the initiative and have listened to the Holy Spirit and have continued on the mission in being able to proclaim Jesus in this online community of yours, in being able to share and be a community of faith that, you know, even though we're geographically apart. And so I want to encourage each and every one of you, and I want to encourage all of our Proclaim members to consider missionary creativity, to adapt to the signs of our times, to not be afraid to step into something new. You know, for all of us, this idea of Facebook Live is very new. And so, you know, we're willing to step in because Jesus needs to be proclaimed and he needs to be shared with others. And Virtual Parish is doing that. I think the last shout out we're going to throw out is to Father Paul Gu. Thank you, Father Paul, for all you have done to serve this community.
You rock.
You are loved, and thank you for your leadership. Thank you for your initiatives and your willingness and your sacrifice of your time and in stepping out in helping grow the Virtual Parish. So let's close with that. Happy Easter. We're still in the octave. We still get to celebrate. So celebrate well. Happy Easter to all of you and to the Virtual Parish.
Thank you, Eric.
And God bless you. Thank you guys so much for joining me on Facebook Live. God bless you.